chief guest for the day, Mr. Ashwini Kumar, to the podium. Mr. Ashwini Kumar, I would like to introduce him before he joins us at the podium. The Chairman and Managing Director, Dena Bank. He is the member of the Indian Bankers Association Managing Committee, the member of the Governing Board and Standing Committee of National Institute of Bank Management. He has been elected as Honorary Fellow of the Indian Institute of Banking and Finance and a member of its Governing Council. He's also been appointed as the Chairman and Finance Committee of IBA for the year 2014-15 and has a vast experience in banking both at the operational and administrative level. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome our chief guest to the podium.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends. I think after listening to 4 speakers, all of you are tired. So, my colleagues on the dais and friends of the dais, I'll be moving away from the topics customer loyalty and as Cisco representative, as MD has told, digital supermarket to a supermarket of people who are unbanked. So my topic is technology trends that can influence financial inclusion agenda. As all of you are aware that financial inclusion has been an agenda for the government for the last few years. Reserve Bank is also working on that. But of late, globally if you see of late, it has gathered a lot of momentum after financial crisis in US, then subsequent housing bubble. So all these have accelerated the pace of financial inclusion. Reason mainly being, now it is felt that financial threat of instability anywhere would be a financial threat globally to any country, anywhere. So even a small financial threat can become a threat with global dimensions. And it has been observed that financial inclusion can lead to financial stability and is a way to provide financial stability to the global economy and global dynamics. With this background, if you see for financial inclusion, Reserve Bank has been continuously working, Government of India has been continuously working. Branch licensing was liberalized and it was compulsory to open 25% branches in unbanked areas. Then basic savings bank account were introduced. eKYC was introduced just to facilitate opening of accounts so that the unbanked sector, if we talk of India, where about 40-45% households were unbanked, but after PMJDY, I think now virtually all the households have been covered by at least one basic SB account. This is what is as per survey of most of the banks. Very few areas are left, and I think that they'll be covered by 26th of this month. So we'll be having one household account everywhere, and this will be the account of people who did not have basic banking services, who did not know what a bank is, who do not know what a saving bank is, what forward banking sector is, and as Tang Salis was saying, loyalty of the customer. So their loyalty was to the local money lender or to their own homes where they were keeping the money. Because if you see the amount which has come on, about more than 11 crore accounts have been opened under PMJDY, and about 9,000 crores is balance in those accounts. So you can understand the volume of money which was available in rural areas, available to people who did not have proper financial services available to them. So with this idea, this financial inclusion program has been launched in a big way. And when we talk of financial inclusion, by definition, it means providing access to financial services and credit, if needed, to weaker section and vulnerable groups at affordable cost. So it is access to financial services, number one. Number two is affordable cost and when needed, credit when needed. So these three are the basic premise of financial inclusion. And where do you find these vulnerable people and weaker section people? Mostly they are spread over rural areas, they are in urban areas, they are in remote places in urban area. In metros also see they are in remote areas. So to provide them banking services is a major challenge for all of us, and especially for the banking industry, where out of 11 crores account, only 3 crores accounts have some balance, 8 crores account don't have balance. And if we come to transactions, the transactions must be even lesser in these 11 crores account. So once the transactions start happening in these accounts, once government subsidies start moving in these accounts, how to provide them the basic service of banking, then comes insurance, and then come pension. So once you provide all these three, then we'll say that the financial inclusion is complete. First stage, of course, opening of account, getting attached to a bank. Second stage, if you need credit. Second stage, operations in the account. Third stage, if you need credit, credit should be available. Then insurance, and then pension. Then the complete cycle of financial inclusion is completed. And to provide all this at affordable cost, branch banking becomes virtually unaffordable, very, very costly. Survey done has reported that transaction cost in these areas would be at least 50 to 60 rupees per transaction, which would be a very huge cost, and to having a brick and mortar branches at these areas may be very, very difficult. So what are the solutions for this? When you have to provide all these services, and to 11 crore people which have been added, apart from which were there, for whom we were opening digital supermarkets, and we were discussing our customer loyalty. But these customers have to move to us. They have to develop faith in us. Otherwise, they go back to their original savers or lenders. So their loyalty has to be developed, and they should be provided access to these services. Access does not mean that he wastes one full day in traveling to a branch. Because if you see how remotely they are located, in how remote areas are there, when we did not have BCs, one whole day was wasted just to go to a bank and do a banking transaction. So with this in view, I think technology will come into play, and that is the only way how we can provide financially excluded people the flavor of banking and other allied products. We started with ATMs. ATMs were opened, then first in offsite, then there is a compulsion from Government of India that all branches should have ATMs. We had opened ATMs, moved to mobile ATMs, then we had handheld devices, micro ATMs. So from that, now we have to move to some other area, because the population and the area to be covered, the distances to be covered are huge. When we talk of ATMs, ATMs had their own problems in rural areas. They are having the problems. We are not able to provide them. Power is an issue. Switching over to solar ATMs, solar power ATMs, or UPS machines, all of them are having issues, but we are having micro ATMs working with our BCs right now. But I think in the days to come, this technology has to address this issue. And mobile is one area which can address this in a big way. In India, we have a penetration of about 900 million people are mobile users. But if you see the number of people who are using mobile for banking, I think that must be minuscule. In terms of percentage, I don't think we can say in terms of percentage the number is very high. So this is the area where we have to, through which we can spread banking to unbanked areas, to people who don't have access to these areas. But the only problem here would be literacy of the customer. Though when we talk of literacy, I think the enthusiasm which this PMJDY has created. We visited the branches when financial inclusion program, this PMJDY is launched. There were huge queues standing outside the branches to open the account. So without this spread of financial literacy to the extent it is required, there is a lot of enthusiasm in people to open the account. So only thing is that we have to convert them to use, to provide them facilities so that they can use mobile phones for payment transactions, as for some small purchases, So that this is the way how we can access these people who are in unbanked areas and rural areas. But with mobile also, and mobile handsets presently have some drawbacks, and challenges with mobile handsets would be mainly on account of if we don't have biometric mobiles which can read your biometrics, then it is a problem because PIN usage may be a problem with number of users. Complex transactions cannot take place through mobile. And of course, the connectivity issues which are there in mobile also. But I think for using technology, which will be a very, very heavy cost to the bankers, we'll have to join with technology service providers, with mobile service providers, so that the cost is shared or borne by us equally. But the way forward, what I see is that mobile-driven financial inclusion is the way out, and in our country, I think this is the way we should move and see that we are able to provide these financial services to the unbanked people who don't have accounts or who have just opened accounts with us. Other ideas, I think people from service industry, various technology companies are here. You can deliberate and see what else we can do. Where else we can use technology to provide services, banking services to this vast number of unbanked people, and come out with solutions as Dr. Saleh has requested. There should be some takeaways, some guidance for us also, so that financial inclusion blooms up in a proper way and we are able to provide services to everybody. And of course, with services to everybody, financial stability would be there in the system. I once again thanks IBEX and organizer of this program for inviting me, and wish this conference all success. Thank you very much.